So this is an older Craftsman chainsaw. Smaller model, about a 16-inch bar. Maybe it's a 14. My dad wants me to get this going again for him. And basically from what he tells me is it's just really hard to start it and get it going. And he says once you start it and get it running, it runs fine until he goes to use it again, you know, however long far into the future that may be. Same thing. He says it takes about 30 or 40 pulls, and he's got to mess with the choke quite a bit just to get it going. So more than likely the carburetor just needs to be cleaned out. But before I can deduce that, I've got to take it apart and have a look at it. So first things first, we'll go ahead and pull this top cover off, which I believe the air filter might be under here. Now we'll go ahead and try and gingerly pull that off. We'll go ahead and pull this out. And there's definitely a lot of debris, all sorts of stuff inside this thing. So I'm just going to go ahead and clean it out. And this air filter definitely should be replaced. It's starting to disintegrate. So I might have another one on hand that I can cut and design to get it to fit in there. So we'll go ahead and pull these two screws off. Go ahead and pull the fuel line off. Set that out of the way. And then just this linkage that goes to start and stop lever. And here we have the carburetor. But we'll go ahead and set this aside for now and continue tearing this thing apart. There's just all sorts of debris and dirt. And I'm really going to do my best to try and not get as much as I can into the inside of the motor. I'm actually going to pull the handle off, try and make this a little bit easier on myself getting this last screw out. And so with the problem screw finally out, I just pulled the fuel hose through this tiny little hole right there. Because now I'm going to go ahead and just pull this off. Slide the fuel line right through just like that. So you guys can see this thing is a mess. So I went through and cleaned up the top of the chainsaw and blew some air around the starter recoil there. And here's the carburetor, for the most part taken apart. I've not removed the needle yet, but I'm going to shoot some carb spray through it and give it a good thorough cleaning before I tear it apart any further. So now I'm going to go ahead and pull the needle and seat out. And the bottom of the needle, a little dirty. Clean that off. So now with it all cleaned up, I'm going to go ahead and carefully piece this thing back together. I did clean out the inside where the seat sits, the needle. And this little spring goes right here. These are always kind of a pain because of how small they are. You just kind of want to line it up as best you can so you can get the top of this back on. And it actuates as it should. You always want to verify that. Go ahead and put your gasket back on. This one is still good, still nice and pliable. So I'm not going to worry about a carb kit for it just yet. Definitely not until I run it. See if there's anything I like about it. So we'll just throw this other one back on. There you have that. And I'm just loosely placing these two bolts back in. So now we can go ahead and throw the carburetor back on its little platform. And because I do have some spare gas line lying around, I'm actually going to go ahead and replace this gas line. It's definitely in really bad condition as far as how pliable it is. So in order to do this, pretty simple, I'm just going to go ahead and pull the filter out which I don't think I have another one of these on hand. In fact, I'm pretty sure I don't. Yeah, that thing is definitely not in good condition. So there you have that. That line is not in good condition at all. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is use this one as a piece of measurement for the new piece. So make it about the same size. So hopefully with this last bolt down here, get this thing taken apart enough where I can get to the tank and properly route that fuel line into it. And it needs to be cleaned out in there as well, of course, so I'll go ahead and do that. So to insert the fuel line into the tank, I just always cut off a small tip on the top. Makes it easier to kind of fish it through. And reach a pair of pliers in there. Pull out that part. You might go ahead and clean up this filter too. And so with a little bit of fuss, the fuel line is now back in and the fuel filter is reconnected. So we'll go ahead, throw our gas tank back into the side of the unit. And for good measure, just throw the gas cap back on. Now this gas line feeds up through here, so we'll just make sure that everything goes back on properly. So we've almost got her all back together now at this point. It's pretty much just putting the handle back on, and I'll leave the air filter box cover off just temporarily until I can verify that this thing runs. Alright, so I've got the filter box back on, and I did go ahead and size up a new filter to throw in there as well. Let's see if she'll start for us. I'm definitely happy with that. So now that I know it kicked over just fine, I just went through and properly routed the fuel line through the handle like it should be. So now my dad's got a good working chainsaw again. I'm going to advise him this time not to leave any old stale gas in it. Make sure to run some fuel stabilizer in his gas that he uses for this thing.